We begin this episode by acknowledging the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we record and share these stories. We pay our deepest respects to their elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening or watching today's episode. We honour those who walked before us, their enduring connection to country, and the stories held in land, sky, and spirit. May we listen with openness and learn with humility. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to Beyond the Veil Australia podcast, where history, mystery, and the unexplained collide. From eerie encounters to forgotten histories, from channeled messages to scientific perspectives, we explore phenomena that defy easy explanation. I'm Heather, your guide through the shadows and the host of Beyond the Veil Australia podcast. Together, we'll unravel paranormal events, curious connections, and the questions that refuse to stay quiet. So whether you're a skeptic, a seeker, or somewhere in between, this space is for you. Welcome. Last season, we lifted the veil, but this time we stepped through. So, the passage is open. What waits beyond is now calling your name. Hello and welcome to Beyond the Veil Australia podcast and this special first episode of Beyond the Ward pre-investigation, which is the first in a 3-part episode mini-series around the investigation that I was fortunate enough to enjoy and tag along with Monique and Anthony from Date Night at the Ghost Gang, with the beautiful Sam from Aussie Afterlife podcast, and of course, Mon and Anthony's friend Mel, who is also a guide with the quarantine station in Sydney. So, before I even fully do an intro on this and move straight into the episode, I just wanted to say a very special thank you to Date Night at the Ghost Gang, Aussie Afterlife, and obviously Mel from the Q Station. It was fantastic to be able to actually be with you all in person and do something that was just phenomenal. And for the people, I'm so glad that it was you guys. So thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being great mates. And this is obviously for all of us, but I also want to just say thanks so much. I'm so glad that I got to do this with you all. I wouldn't have picked any other people to investigate the asylum with other than you. So welcome. Now, again, once before I move into the intro, I just have a few little things that I have to say. So, I finished getting this episode scripted the day before recording, or the night before, I should say. Now, interestingly, the entire day before today's recording, I had experienced a headache all through the front of my forehead and in my eyes, right? Now, I'm going to put this out there really quickly. I am a migraine sufferer, straight up. I've had migraines since I was 3 years old. The only time I never got migraines was when I was pregnant and breastfeeding my children. Now, if you're a little bit slow to the party, I am pregnant with my third child. So I wouldn't liken this to a migraine, but it was bordering. Now, what's interesting with that is that one of the physical sensations that I will be touching on in this pre-investigation episode that all of us all shared was headaches. Now, the other thing that's interesting is that even though I'd been taking Panadol yesterday, the Panadol would kick in for a bit and help, and then it would come back. And of course, I went to bed last night, still had it there. So again, I took some Panadol before bed. And when I woke up, I expected it to be gone. But instead, my left eye, which was the more problematic eye, was still really sore and I could feel the headache. Now, this morning I had to obviously do drop-off for kids for school and kinder, and my husband had a course that he has to attend. So I'd driven him there as well. And on the way back, I just felt really hideous. I was like, it's coming back. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to get this recorded today. And I really wanted to get it recorded today because I want it to be in line with when everybody else is releasing their stuff. So, yeah. So I felt really unwell. And just to kind of flip back to last week, I ended up having a pretty severe allergic reaction to what I can liken as outdoor work. But I'm not somebody that gets allergies. And I ended up with, for the week of last week, my left eye, ironically, that was swollen and puffy and was like half shut for most of the week. I'd obviously gone and seen the optometrist. They confirmed that it was an allergen. It wasn't anything else. But it's just interesting that since that has passed, I've had this headache and the fact that it's my left eye that's still problematic. When I get migraines, they can be on either side. It really depends. Sometimes it's more concentrated on the left. Sometimes it's more concentrated on the right. But yesterday, it didn't feel concentrated on either side. It felt very centralized. It felt like a lot of sinus pressure and like my eyes were really just strained and heavy. And so naturally, I kind of thought, oh, look, it's been a big week with work. I've been staring at computer screens. It's been really hot. I'm pregnant, everything. My eyes are probably still trying to recover from last week. But it wasn't until last night when I finished off the scripting for this episode that it suddenly clicked in my head that maybe it's actually connected to the investigation. I will come back to where I was before. So when I got home from dropping everybody off, I was just like, I feel so unwell. My guts don't feel good. I just don't feel good. And this pregnancy, I have to say, I have felt the best I've ever felt compared to the others. So it was just really interesting that I just felt so horrendous, and I'm at the halfway or just over the halfway mark now. And when I consciously said, maybe this is a sign that I shouldn't be recording this today. Maybe I should do it later tonight, potentially, if I'm feeling better, or some point over the weekend. But other part of me was like, I don't want to do that because I want to get it edited and ready to go. But once I'd consciously kind of put that out there, the headache started to subside. I then thought, okay, I'm going to just take some Panadol just to be careful, just to be sure, make sure that it's gone. I can still feel a little bit of soreness in my eye, but it's definitely gone and I don't feel unwell like I did before. So I just wanted to completely start the whole thing by kind of putting that out there because I just found it very interesting that the coincidences of this just seem a little too coincidental. And, as much as I can connect with the other side, I am still one of the biggest skeptics with things like this, where I'm kind of like, no, you're just being silly. But the other part of me, once that thought crossed my mind, I just kind of knew. I could feel it through every fiber of my being that there was either a warning or a sign or something to just be like, we're going to silence you again. And when I say again, that will obviously be touched on in the part 2 episode. So yeah, there's a lot that happened. There's a lot that happened in the lead up. There's a lot that happened during, and there's a lot that happened after. So In today's episode, we're going to be looking at the pre-investigation. So hold on tight, get yourself a good beverage, maybe a snack or two, because this is the pre-investigation of Beyond the Ward. Before you ever step inside an asylum, something shifts. It happens quietly, long before the equipment is even packed, long before the doors are even opened, and long before the first question is even asked. The pre-investigation isn't just a checklist, it's a state of mind. It begins with the decision to go. With the moment you say yes to a place that has held so many stories, so much silence, and so much unresolved weight. From that point on, the investigation is already happening in your body, in your intuition, and in the way the world around you starts to rearrange itself. Beechworth Asylum doesn't wait for your arrival. It starts speaking the moment you commit to coming. You notice it in the days leading up to the trip, the dreams, the flashes of memory that aren't even yours, and the way that your attention keeps drifting back to the same questions. There's a pull, subtle, steady, and unmistakable. By the time you're on the road, you're not just travelling to a location. You're crossing into a story that has been waiting just for you. This episode begins before the gates, before the corridors, before the lights even dim. It begins here, in the preparation, the anticipation, and the quiet knowing that something is already reaching back. This is the pre-investigation, the moment where intention becomes invitation. The writing. Before I take you into Beechworth, I need to share something personal. Something I wasn't sure I'd even read aloud. 6 weeks before the investigation, I began receiving messages. 4 separate channels, each with its own voice, its own energy, its own intention. They came quietly at first, then insistently, as if it was preparing me for what was waiting on the other side of this trip. Now, I want to be clear about something. I still really have no idea if these messages are remotely connected to the asylum, but they might be, and they might not be. When I opened myself to this process, I didn't ask for the asylum specifically. I opened the sessions to Beechworth, the town, the land, and the history. Also, the surrounding areas. Whatever wanted to speak would speak. And at the time, I hadn't done any investigative research on these writings. I didn't know if the names, the impressions, or the stories lined up with anything documented in the town, whether it was the jail, the asylum, or even just the region. But as I began researching afterwards, I realised that some of the themes that came through, fire, loss, gold, betrayal, do echo real events in Beechworth's history. A devastating bushfire in 1899 that tore through a district. A gold theft case from the 1860s involving buried treasure, accusations between brothers, and a death by fire. Stories that sit in the land like old scars. Now, I don't know if these are direct connections or just resonances. I don't know if the messages were pointing to these events specifically, or if it was the emotional patterns that were laid beneath them. But I want you to know that these parallels exist because they became a part of how I understood what came through. So as you listen, if anything resonates with you or you recognize a reference, a pattern, a name, an experience, then please let me know. Because these writings become the emotional backbone of this entire experience, even before I understood what they were pointing toward. I'm going to read the channel messages now, exactly as they came through, unedited, unfiltered, and in their original form. Now, before I get into actually reading these, if you're watching on YouTube, I will do my best to try and add the photos of these messages that I was channeling. For those that are listening on an audio-only platform, these photos will be uploaded to the social media as soon as I possibly can. The last time I tried to upload certain things to social media following an investigation, for some reason they were continually blocked from being posted, which was quite annoying. So if I can't get them on socials, they'll definitely be in the visuals. But just to let you know too, that if you are able to see the photos, you will see that these messages, they're not just kind of like just writing out on the lines just in general. They're quite interesting. I'll have something that'll pop up and I'll write it on a certain part of the paper and then I'll move to a different part. And sometimes you'll see where I've started being able to connect things because I'll have circles or lines or arrows and that you'll see them all connecting. So if you do see the photos, you'll see that I've made sure that when I've scripted this, I've scripted them in the exact way that they came through at that time in chronological order, not based on what is the look on the paper. So bear with me as we get through this. These are, some of it may make sense, some of it may not, and that's completely fine. But you might be listening going, what the fuck is she even on about? So we'll try and get through it in a way that's not too rushed, but obviously gives you a bit more of a sense of what I was picking up in the different channels that I'd had. So let's begin. The messages. 5th of the 9th, 2025, or the 5th of September, 2025, at 11:44 a.m. Messages and premonitions of Beechworth and surrounds. Bushfire. Heard crackling of flames and the roaring of a bushfire. Prison. Vision of 2 to 3 males breaking out and fleeing a bushfire. Connection to a male prisoner trying to help a woman. Heard a woman screaming, "Please help me." Male response was, "I wanted to run, but I had to help her." Date and timeline between 1850 and 1890. Chaos, which was circled several times. Whistles blowing, screeching, indistinct shouting of a male, "Evacuate! Run! Move your asses! Run!" Potential police officer or a jailer that was spinning a baton. Approximate age, 40 to 50. Woman kneeling and screaming, "Help me!" Shock, confusion. Heard name, Natalie. Connected to baby missing, then recovered. "Thank you," with relieved sobbing. Potentially connected to male prisoner that helped a woman. Sound of metal doors slamming shut or even open. Jail gates, metal bars. Orange glow seen followed by a male, the glow of death and the glow of fear. Townspeople running, fleeing, screaming, fear. My livestock, male, approximately 50 to 60, white beard, John, Jonathan, Bill, Bilson. The colour green, tank water, jumped in tank, boiled alive. And then I heard, "That's how I died." A male or a male child? Willie. 12th of the 9th, 2025, at 8:55 p.m. Automatic writing, prediction, channel, Beechworth and surrounds. Black scribbles to tune in. Prison break. 1895. John White, Whitey. Seabrooks. Fire that was circled. Death. Bushfire. Town lost. Help us. At that point, I had a pain in my left eye most of the day, and it was a sharp ache. The noose. Hanging, circled. Innocent man hanged, male voice. Fuck the gallows, another male voice. Sirens ringing and spotlights everywhere. Murder, rampage, sociopath. Disaster, which was circled. Innocent lives lost, men, women and children. Baby crying, not in distressed crying. Help me, woman pleading, crying, sobbing. Lost, that was circled. Hanging rock, unsure if this is related to the place or a nickname for something or somewhere. Woman screaming, shock, disbelief, surroundings, disaster, circled. Person rocking back and forth in a straitjacket, unsure if male or female. Heard maniacal laughing, mentally unstable / psychotic or psychopathic, describing straitjacket person, big yellow brown teeth, person smiling, evil, bad, perpetrator. Sally, Bianca, Celine, all circled individually. Help us, please. Victims of murder. Vision of a noose swinging in the wind or the breeze. Bell ringing, signal for a time or event. At that point, I held my crystal to my left temple, gently rubbing it over the area. I heard a gunshot and a vision of a temple gunshot. Wounded, not suicide. Roulette. Playing roulette. Accident. Bar fight. Circled. Similar to old western scene. John, Smith, White. Heard maniacal laughter again. Was it connected to the roulette? I felt sinus and bad head pressure. 3 black scribbles to continue tuning in. Green, circled. Blake. Gold Rush, circled. Connected to the roulette and another person. I want my money. Give it to me. Heard gunshot. Male. They stole my pan. My gold. Kill him. Raphael, circled, watching over you, whilst I was holding rose quartz at the time. Protection, circled, heard The Rose by Bette Midler. Roses, circled. Mick, Michael, circled. Archangel, confirmed, unsafe, watching over you. Jeff, spelt with a J, Jeff, spelt with a G, circled. Jeffries, woman's voice toward me. Who are you? I run a brothel. Madame Lucy's, Lucia's, 1855 to 56, maybe. Dangerous blokes round here, love. See woman walking away, unbothered. Neck pain on my upper, left neck, lower head. Michael confirmed, closing this down now. Closed session at 9:25 p.m, 12th of the 9th, 2025. After channeling on the 12th of the 9th, 2025, I was wanting to listen to 2 songs for no known reason. The first, Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold. Maniacal laughter in song. Ties to maniacal laughter I heard in the channel. Also, vision of Maniac in a ward. The second song, sorry, I just needed a minute. Firefly by Rammstein. Firefly translated means fire freely and can be compared to fire at will or open fire. Ties to literal fire, screaming or a crying child, firing gunshots. Now, I took the liberty of actually translating the verses of this song, or in fact the song, because it is obviously performed in German. So I wanted to actually find out, well, what is it that's connected to this song? So I'm going to read you each verse and, kind of take you through it and just see what you think. I did have to stop for a minute because I just started thinking, some of the things that came through in those channels, pain in left eye, left temple, left side of neck and shoulder. And I'm starting to feel that return again. And that has been where the issues have been for the last day and a half. So yeah, just throwing that out there, make of that what you will. Interesting. So let's continue with where we are. So verse 1 of Firefly. Blamed are those who know pain, from fire that burns the skin. I shine a light in my face, a hot scream, fire at will. Verse 2. Knighted are those who know pain, from fire that burns the lust. A shock of sparks in your lap, a hot scream, fire at will. Verse 3. Dangerous are those who know pain, from fire that burns the soul, bang, bang. Dangerous is the burnt child, with fire that separates life. A hot scream, bang, bang, fire at will. The bridge, your happiness is not my happiness, it's my misery, which is repeated twice. My reaction to this is, what the actual fuck? Which, when you see the actual sheet of paper that I've written that on, it's literally like scribbled over a million times and circled. So, yeah, Make of that, again, what you will. It was just odd that those were the two songs that I just couldn't get out of my head and I just had to listen to after that channel. And some of the things that came through in that channel feel semi-related to what's, being expressed in these songs. Again, I'm somebody that will always go through the several thousand layers of why and can always pick up things well beyond the surface. So for me, it's not just kind of just the stock standard words that may be connected. It's about what those words mean and how they resonate and the connections in the people that I'd experienced and the pain and the sorrow and all of these different things kind of mixed into one is where I can really feel where the songs, the emotion behind them and behind the lyrics is also a big part of that. So yeah, again, make of that what you will. But yeah, very, very odd, but we've still got more to go. So let's keep going. Channel Beechworth and Surrounds, 29th of the 9th, 2025. Feel the need to combine tarot and auto writing. 3 black scribbles to tune in. Combine, Columbine, Harvester, Stretched Resources, Farmland, Connected to Machinery, John White, circled. Heard gunshots, at least 2, sounding more like a rifle. Stock. Voice, I see you. Tarot cards. Help me. Female, mid-20s to 30s age group. Maniacal laugh and the sound of a snake hissing. Protection. Michael is here. So is Raphael. Roses, circled. Connected to Michael. Weeds. Water spraying. Male yelling, prison break! Yelling to alert others. Run, you sons of bitches! Fucking run! Male, an officer. Connected to the word fire, circled. See the building in flames, orange, red glow. My farm, my farm! An unknown male. Whitey, John. Close my eyes with the selenite on my neck. A vision of Michael shielding me. White, blue glow. Get out, it's coming! Male voice, approximately 30s. Hearing the roar of fire coming closer. Ash Wednesday. Unsure on whether this relates to the actual event or a similarly fire to describe this fire. Hearing cows mooing in distress. Orange glow again. No escape. Trapped. 2 men with silver buckets, dressed 1900s maybe, trying to put out smaller fires. Farmland, fence line, trees in the background, blackened by smoke or burnt. An orange glow. Come on, Smitty, help me! A farmer or a mate. Sounds of trees crackling and breaking, roaring fire still moving. I kept feeling a burning hot sensation on the front of my thighs, with no heat or pressure on my legs at the time. No visible redness, although burning was present. Open up tarot and oracle decks. Oracle deck, the Ancient Stones deck. Question. Are there any spirits connected to Beechworth or surrounds that want to share something? Answer. Dancing with the Stones card, which equals movement, teamwork, partnership. My interpretation is yes, partnership in sharing. Question. To card revealed. Is teamwork or partnership related to your story? Answer. Weather the storms card. Let it change you. Embrace the unexpected. My interpretation is, yes, partnership, but challenges along the way. You should expect the unexpected. Answer 2, alignment card. It's coming together. Precision. My interpretation is, trust the process of the cards and what is being shared with you. Question. Is there anything more you want to tell me with this oracle deck? Answer. Verbal, no. Followed by immediate burning sensation that returns to my right thigh only. Hand hovering over tarot deck, heard, tarot. The tarot deck was the modern tarot reader. Question. Is there anything you wish to tell me with this tarot deck? Answer. The Hierophant card. Organised religion, set principles, religious leader. My interpretation is potentially a religious leader communicating or someone connected to a religion and its principles. Question. Can you expand further? please? Answer, temperance card. Spirit guide, blessings, healing. My interpretation is it's either a spirit guide of mine or someone high in spiritual standing trying to bless me in potentially a patronising way that doesn't feel like my team. Question, is there anything further you want to add? Answer, page of rods or wands. Card, curious. My interpretation, curious about why I'm connecting with them. No question, just a continued shuffle with a response with dual cards appearing. Answer 1, Wheel of Fortune card, karma, luck, cycle, fate, opportunity. Second card, King of Elixirs or cups. Nurture, wisdom, being present. My interpretation that whether anyone comes through, trust the cards being shown. There's messages of encouragement or warning in them, but use this to continue to grow and develop your skills. We all have to start somewhere, don't doubt yourself. No further question, just a continued shuffle. Heard a female's voice say, tarot, followed by the devil's tool. Response question that I asked, why is it the devil's tool? They're just another way for me to tell your story. Answer received while continuing to shuffle the deck. Catholic, witch, you're a witch, burn. Immediately I had the sensation of a quick burn to my legs again. Was this possibly connected to previous sensations? My question, do you want me to stop using the cards? Answer, verbal, yes. I closed off the deck. I did another black scribble to tune in again. Protection, we are here. Red roses for you. Michael, protector. Code words for me. Please come, female voice. I need help. Mary, circled, white dress, long wavy strawberry blonde, red hair. Burned alive, circled. Female voice, Mary. Michael, we're shutting this down. Session closed. 10th of the 10th, 2025 at 9:30 p.m. Beechworth and surrounds. Black scribble to tune in. Gunshot, verbal, followed by a sound of a bar, pub, western. Smitty, followed by, it's me, John. Gold Rush, 1855. Vision, dark and stormy, of a male in a small room with one window. Lightning flashes, darkness. Rocking on a gurney in a straitjacket. Evil smile, brown teeth, maniac. Heard the word schizophrenia, followed by maniacal laughter. I just have to say something really quick before I continue. I actually just heard one of my screen doors just rattle just now. I just have to say that because it could be the dog, but I don't know. I've never really heard it before when I've been recording, so to sort of hear it now is a little bit creepy. But we're going to continue on. My question to this person, what are you laughing at? Response, they'll never find it. That gold, laughing. I buried it. My question, where did you bury it? Response, in the graveyard behind the jail. Continued maniacal laughter while rocking on this gurney. The sound of thunder and flashes of lightning. Michael is here, so is Raphael. I just got goosebumps. Protection, circled. Guidance, here to serve. Roses, daffodils, flowers. Blakely, circled. Question, maniacal man. My question, John, Smitty, do you know this man on the gurney? Response, yes. My question, how do you know him? Response, he fucking stole from me. My question, what did he steal? Response, my fucking gold. Large gap in information before hearing, he's a cunt. My question, is that about the man on the gurney? Response, yes. My question, John, can you tell me if the gold was payment for your farm? Response came through before I finished even writing the question. Yes, and then he stole my gold. He fucking kept it and buried it somewhere. My question, why is he in a straitjacket? Response, he ran off with my gold and my farm and then shot a bloke. He was calculated. It looked like a game of roulette, but he rigged it. My question, how did he rig it? Response, he stole from everybody in town. Gold, land, everything. He isn't unwell. It's his way of getting out of being hanged. He went to the nut house, but he wasn't nuts. snake in the grass, never leaves a trail, just what's left behind. Destruction, heartbreak, anger, hurt. My response to John's responses. Thank you, John. My question. Is there any record of this man? Response. Yes, but they're hard to find. My question. Do you know his name? Response. He said Robbo, but it's fake. Don't know his real name. Thank you, John. Would you like my friends and I to tell your story and try and find out more through records? Response. Yes, I want to know who this man is. Lucy. Madam. Visual of walking towards me, followed by, I know where to find what you're looking for. Gallows. Secret door. My question. Lucy, could you describe what it looks like or show me? Response. Yes. This was shown to me in a vision. Behind me is the officer's door, under the trapdoor level. Dark all around with hints of blue light in front. Middle of room, 4 timber posts in a square formation. Trapdoor above. Left corner in front of direction, furthest away from the officer's door. Lucy pointing to the corner. References to papers or documents. Sudden vision of a man dropping at force from the trapdoor. Potential connection to the noose. Noose placed incorrectly, strangled, not broken. Help us tell our story. Suffering. We all did. A long drop and a sudden stop, but not so sudden for all. 3 to 4 men visible on level. Hanged man. Hanged men. Lucy pointing at papers in the corner. Over here. Midway up wall height. 3 bricks from corner. You'll find what you're looking for here. Thank you, Lucy. Michael here. My question to Michael. Michael, what am I seeing? Response. You're seeing death, trauma, but what you need to see is their stories. Black scribble, followed by a word, planchette. Spirits want to use Ouija board. Help us, please. Female, cradling newborn baby. He's coming. Heard stomping boots. Female energy, basement/kitchen. Baby daughter, abusive male energy, husband. James, Stewart. Aggressive male, 6'5"-ish, 6-ish. Brown, wavy, thick hair. Brown eyes. Keep hearing stomping, trying to intimidate. Woman hiding, scared. Help us, please. Shadow of a man swinging with an axe. Sorry. Heard blood splattering, chopping sounds, aggressive. Male energy. You'll be next if you don't run. I'm coming for you. Run, run. Creepy voice. Torture circled. Cat and mouse game. Sorry, I just have to stop for a sec. I just have pressure in my left temple again. Oh, this is a bit fucked. All I want to do is try and get this recorded so you guys can hear it, but holy shit, there's some sensations going on right now. Just gonna get my selenite and just... And now it's gone. It's weird. This is just... I didn't expect to actually start having sensations just by reading the channels, actually. Which one would think by now, with some of the random weird things that have happened in some of my recordings, that I should just expect it. But I don't, to be honest. I expect nothing to happen. So when things happen, it's like, fuck, what the hell is going on? You know, like... Oh, Jesus. All right. I just got pressure on my throat as well, like a tickle in my throat. I'm just literally going to stop and have a drink. And the reason I'm not pausing this recording to do all of this is just so that you guys can see how this is impacting me in real time. A lot of this stuff, even now, like just reading it, some of the dots are connecting for me now, and I didn't even think about it when I was putting everything together. I didn't even connect things really that much when I was channeling. So there's just some weird things right now. And I've had to have lemonade because lemonade obviously helps settle the tummy sometimes. So weird. I'm just going to grab my other protection crystal right now because I'm starting to feel a little bit off. But nonetheless, we're still good. All right. Let's keep going. Millie, Emily. We're pulling out now. Session needs to end. Michael and Raphael filling white light around and bringing me back. 3 scribbles, bushfire, circled, sirens, fire alarms. Run, you sons of bitches, male officer. Orange glow, flames crackling, roaring like a freight train. Horses, water, carriage accident, death circled. Michael, it's time to close now. Roses, protection, rose quartz, and at the time I was holding the rose quartz in my hand through that channel. White light clearing energy. Session close 10:05 p.m. That was the end of the channelings. Raw, unfiltered, and at times confronting. But they became the compass for everything that followed. Only later, when I began researching a little bit of the region, which was only this week, did I even realise that some of these themes weren't just symbolic. They echoed real events in Beechworth's past. So let me take you through some of what I found. The history versus channeling. I'd been sitting with the channelings for weeks before we left for Beechworth. Bushfire, smoke, heat. Those were the impressions that kept returning, insistent, almost rhythmic, as though something in the land was trying to remind me of a moment that it had forgotten. The dates that came through were always the same, somewhere between 1890 and early 1900s. At first, I didn't know what to do with that. Beechworth's history is so dense. A gold rush, asylum, mining camps, migration. But fire wasn't the first thing that I associated with the region. And then I found some records. In December 1899, Beechworth and its surrounding settlements were hit by one of the most destructive fires in their history. Entire ridgelines burned. Smoke rolled into the centre of town. Families fled with whatever they could carry. 3 people died. Dozens of homes were lost. The railway bridges between Everton and Beechworth collapsed in the flames. Even the hospital was nearly taken. Reading the old reports, I felt the same pressure in my chest that I'd felt through the channeling. That sense of heat rising, of something moving fast across the land, of a moment that left a mark deeper than the official histories ever quite capture. And it wasn't just in 1899. The whole decade was marked by fire. Smaller burns, localised outbursts, dry summers that pushed the region to its edge. The land around Beechworth has always been fire country, long before colonisation, long before the gold rush, and long before the asylum was even built. But the late 1800s carried a particular intensity, a kind of environmental unrest that sits beneath the surface even now. So as we prepare to step into the asylum and into its corridors, its grounds, its layers of memory, I can't help but feel the story of this place isn't just held in its walls. It's held in the land around it, in the ridges that burned, in the smoke that once settled over the town, in the lives lost and the lives changed. And maybe that's why channeling kept returning to fire. Maybe the land was reminding me of what it had already survived. But fire wasn't the only theme that came through. I'd been sitting with my channelings for a while before I found anything in historical records that even came close to matching what came through. But when I finally did, it felt like a puzzle piece sliding into place. During the channeling, I kept hearing fragments of a story around a gunshot, a bar, a roughness of a gold rush town. A man calling himself Smitty, and then, "It's me, John." The year 1855, a sense of betrayal so sharp it almost had a taste to it. And then the image of another man, strapped into a straitjacket, rocking on a gurney in a dark room, only lit by flashes of lightning. He was laughing, wildly, maniacally. His teeth were brown and his smile was wrong. When I asked him what he was laughing at, he said, "They'll never find the gold. I buried it." And then when I asked where, he said, "In the graveyard behind the jail." The energy around him was slippery, deceptive, a snake in the grass. Someone who moved without leaving a trail, but left destruction behind. When I asked John, the first man, if he knew him, he said yes. When I asked how, he said he fucking stole from me. Gold, land, everything. A rigged game, a rigged shooting. A man pretending to be insane to avoid being hanged. And then, he isn't unwell. It's just his way of getting out of it. At the time, I didn't know what to do with any of this. It felt like a story, but I didn't know where it belonged and if it belonged to anyone. Or anyone real. Then I found the case of James Ring, an American-born miner living at 3 Mile Creek, just outside of Beechworth, who accused his own brother of stealing more than £1,500 worth of buried gold. A fortune. He'd hidden it near a well on their shared land, and when he returned from a hospital stay, it was gone. He took his brother to court, but the case was dismissed. The gold was never recovered. 7 years later, James died from severe burns after a fire in a house that he shared with the same brother. He lingered for more than 2 weeks before passing away in the Ovens Goldfields Hospital. A story of betrayal. A story of something buried. A story of a man returning from hospital to find everything changed. A story that never resolved. And while the details aren't exactly identical to what came through in the channeling, the emotional architecture is the same. Gold hidden underground. Gold stolen. A man who deceived others. A violent act. A hospital. A fire. A death. A story buried in the records. And a desire for a truth to surface. Even the names that were received, John, Smitty, Blake, Rob, Robbo, are all names that appear in the gold rush era of the Ovens district. Many miners used aliases. Many men pretended to be unwell to avoid harsher sentences. And the Beechworth jail did have a burial ground behind it. So maybe what came through wasn't one man's story, but an echo of many. A pattern in the land, a wound that repeats itself, a story of greed, betrayal, and a fire that has played out more than once in this region. And maybe John, and whoever he was, just wanted someone to listen, someone to follow the thread, someone to help them find the truth that he never got in life. As I sit with all of this, the fires, the gold, the betrayals, the stories buried in the land, I can't say without certainty that any of it's connected to the asylum. But I also can't ignore the way these themes seem to echo through the region, repeating themselves across decades, across families, across lives. Fire, loss, secrets. People pushed to the edge. People who were believed and people who weren't. These patterns live in the soil around Beechworth, and the asylum sits right in the middle of that landscape. So while I don't know if the channelings were pointing directly to the asylum, I do know this. The emotional signatures are the same. The wounds are similar. And the land remembers everything. So with that in mind, we step into the next part of this journey. Travelling to the location. The drive to Beechworth is never a quick one. For all of us, it was a minimum of 4 hours on the road. Some of us travelling even interstate, crossing borders before we even reached the Victorian countryside. It wasn't a simple trip. It was a commitment, a pull, a calling we each felt in our own way. What made this journey even more interesting was that we were all travelling separately. 3 different cars leaving from 3 different locations. One from the west, one from the south, and one from the north. 3 completely different starting points. And yet, each of us experienced something unusual on the way. Normally, my maps keep me on the freeways, pushing me along the fastest, most predictable route. But not this time. For reasons I still can't really explain, my maps took me through the back roads, the small towns, and the long stretches of quiet country roads, places I wouldn't normally pass through. And I didn't feel like it was a mistake. It felt intentional. Like the journey wanted me to slow down, to notice, to move through the landscapes that held their own stories. And I wasn't the only one. Across 3 different routes, in 3 different cars, Each of us had strange little moments, unexpected detours, odd sensations, and things that just didn't feel random. As if the land itself was guiding us all, reshaping the path beneath our wheels. Then there was a place I didn't expect to pass. A town that is tied to a personal tragedy, and one that still sits heavily in my chest. I hadn't planned to drive through it. My maps shouldn't have taken me anywhere near it. And the others had no idea that that place meant something to me. But the moment I entered the area, something happened. My body reacted first. A sudden shift. I felt deep and unmistakably. And almost instantly, my phone lit up with voice-to-text messages from the others. Different cars, different directions, and, for some of us, different states. Yet all of us were describing the same physical sensations at the same time. None of them knew where I was. None of them knew the history of the town that I was tied to. And it was strange. Unsettling in a quiet way. Now, before I continue here, this was something I only connected the other night. So from the person who was travelling from the west and I was travelling from the south, this particular town that was tied to me that I drove through was a town that was the hometown of someone that was that I've lost to tragedy. And interestingly, the area in which the person from the west was travelling, there is like state parks in that area. And interestingly, I only connected this last night or the night before, was that where this person that I lost passed away was actually in the same general area as the person who was coming from the west, which was really interesting. And then the sensations that we felt for personal reasons and obviously not, just being respectful for other family members and things like that. The sensations that we felt, I was able to connect to the way that this person passed, which was not very pleasant. But interestingly, Monique and Anthony and Sam had both said that they had headaches and pain in their neck and like shoulder and things like that. And at the time I didn't necessarily feel that pain right at the same time, but shortly after I'd heard their messages stating that, again, I got, and I'm getting it again now, is I got the sharpness in the left side, and it's to do with my left eye, my temple, and my neck and my shoulder. But I also had neck compression and kind of choked for half a second, which is sadly also related to how this person passed away. And so I then sort of shared it, kind of again, respectfully and kind of to the point of things. But I only just clicked that the area that I was passing through was the hometown of this family member, but there's a national park in the local area of where somebody was coming from the west, is where this person passed away. So, yeah, very, very, very interesting. So I just wanted to throw that in there, and this is why I find it really strange that the sensations that I've been getting for the last 2 days, not only has it been connected in the channeling of the messages, but it's also connected to this. So, another little creepy find there for everyone. Soon after, when I told them where we'd been at that exact moment, everything had clicked into place. And I couldn't help but wonder, was this a psychic metaphor for what was waiting for us? A kind of foreshadowing? A shared signal that the investigation had already begun long before we reached Beechworth. Whatever it was, it marked the moment in this journey, and it shifted. The moment the road stopped being just a road. There was also signs on the road, well, for me anyway. As I continued driving, I came through a town that if you love a classic Aussie film, The Castle, you'll know well. Bonnie Doon. As I was crossing the massive bridge that stretches over the famous lake from the film, I noticed a huge eagle overhead, circling at the opposite end of the bridge. Not only was I amazed to see such an incredible bird, but I knew it was a sign to step back for a moment. Right after, I had been invited and accepted to investigate Beechworth Asylum, I was outside enjoying some sunshine, and it was the first real warmth that we'd had since spring had started. The sky was completely clear, no clouds, no birds, nothing. Then, out of nowhere, I felt an urge to look up as I walked out from my undercover area, and I saw not one, but 2 eagles circling above me. They appeared from literally nowhere, and I had to look away for the moment because the sunlight was so bright. But when I looked back up, they were gone. No trace of where they went. In that moment, I knew exactly who it was. My main spirit guide, Auntie, or T, an elder of the Kukuyalunji peoples based inland from Cairns region in northern Queensland. She has been with me for years, guiding and protecting me in ways that are subtle, strong, and unmistakable. And for those who may not know, I live, work and play on the Bunurong or Bunurong lands of the Kulin Nation, which is in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, Victoria. They are the traditional custodians of the southeastern suburbs. And yes, this is who I pay my respects to at the beginning of each episode. The totem animal for the Bunurong peoples is Bunjil the eagle, the creator spirit, the protector, the lawgiver. In Bunurong and broader Kulin law, Bunjil is the one who shaped the land, the waterways, the people, and the laws that guide how they live in relationship with country. Bunjil watches from above, guiding, protecting, and reminding us of our responsibilities to the land and to each other. So when I saw those 2 eagles had appeared out of completely nowhere in a clear sky, I took it as direct visitation from Auntie. The message I felt was simple and strong. You are protected and you are guided. So when I found myself crossing the bridge at Bonnie Doon, which is probably 2, almost 3 hours away from where I live, and when I saw that eagle circling overhead, I knew instantly that this was Auntie acknowledging my travels, letting me know I had clear and safe passage across many vast lands of the traditional custodians of whose countries I was moving through. And again, this is just a personal thing that I do, but whenever I travel through different countries, I always quietly ask for permission to enter and travel safely with respect. And when I refer to countries, Australia was broken down into over 250 smaller lands that are known as countries for First Nations people. So when you hear me say countries, that's what I'm referring to. So when I saw that eagle at Bonnie Doon, I felt like a confirmation. Safe travels. You are protected. You are guided. The asylum, the escape, and the hotel where we ate. Before we headed to the asylum that night, we'd eaten at Tanswell's Hotel, a place that feels warm and familiar now, but carries its own quiet history. What I didn't realise at the time was that this building once stood at the centre of one of the asylum's earliest incidents. None of us knew this until literally this week. On the 22nd of March, 1868, barely 1 year after Beechworth Lunatic Asylum opened, a young patient escaped by climbing over a section of the ha-ha wall that was still under construction. He made his way down Albert Road and walked straight into John Duncan Fisher's commercial hotel on Ford Street, the very first hotel on the site where Tanswell's now stands. Police Superintendent T.E. Langley happened to be there, and in a moment that feels almost surreal now, the escapee asked if he could have a nobler, or a shot of spirits, and a cigar before being taken back. Langley agreed. The young man finished his drink, smoked his cigar, and was returned to the asylum. And guess what? Only to escape again soon after. Eventually, he was placed in a secure ward so he couldn't slip away for a third time. Standing in Tanswell's today, you'd never know that an asylum escapee had once walked through those walls and doors, seeking a moment of freedom or comfort before being taken back behind those big walls. And yet, as we sat there waiting for our meals, laughing, settling into the rhythm of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that the past wasn't as distant as it seemed. The asylum was only a few streets away. Its history was threaded through the very building we were sitting in. And without meaning to, Sam and I found ourselves tuning into the energy around us. The first quiet sweep of the night, long before we ever stepped into the asylum grounds. Where the night began, the hotel and the haunting. Before we stepped onto the asylum grounds, there was one more moment that shaped the night. Something small, almost ordinary, but threaded in its own history. We'd all met up at the hotel where we were staying, that familiar mix of excitement and nerves settling in as we finally stood together in the same place. After weeks of planning, messaging, and preparing, it felt as grounding to see everyone face to face. And before dinner, we decided to drive up to the asylum to get a few photos of us as a team and a simple, light-hearted moment to mark the beginning of the investigation. But the second we arrived at Tanswell's, the energy shifted. None of us said it at first, but we all felt it. That quiet pull, that sense of being watched, that subtle pressure in the air, the same emotional frequency that had been running through my channelings. The same themes, the same weight. And as we stood there taking photos, laughing, trying to keep things light, the impressions began to surface. Sam felt it, Monique felt it, and I felt it. That familiar hum beneath the skin, where the land seems to speak before the mind has time to catch up. What we didn't realise then was just how closely my channeling was tied to this building. How the very stories I'd received, like the fire, the gold, the betrayal, and the confinement, echoed through the very place we were standing. How the asylum's history and the land's memory were already weaving themselves into our night, even though we hadn't even stepped foot on the grounds yet. After the photos, we headed inside for dinner. A chance to settle, breathe, ground ourselves before the investigation. At the time, it felt like a simple stop, a meal, a moment to regroup. But even there, the energy didn't quite leave us. While we waited for our meals, Sam and I slipped into that familiar rhythm, that quiet noticing, the subtle impressions, the way the room seemed to shift around us. And a mini psychic sweep, unplanned, effortless, and as though the night had already begun. What we didn't realise at the time was just how closely the hotel was tied to the asylum. Not symbolically, not metaphorically, but historically. I need to take a pause for a minute because I've just had this weird sensation kind of hit me. It was like I was sort of there, present, reading my script, and then just, I don't know, I just felt like a sense of being lost, like, it's weird. I don't know if maybe this is like escapee or something, like, just need like that minute to like regroup. It's like literally like I was there and then I just had like this blackout moment and just felt like I didn't even know where I was for a second. That's weird. Oh. But it's weird, like the pressure in my head's gone now. But it's sort of still there, but it's not. Oh, I spoke too soon. Now it's coming back. Oh my goodness, this is... Holy shit. All right. Let's keep it going because I want to move through to the experiences so we get a bit more out of this and hopefully no more distractions. All right, let's start again. When we first stepped inside the hotel, the energy shifted again. Sharper this time. More focused. Directly in front of me was a staircase, a few metres from the door, rising straight up to a small landing before turning sharply to the left and continuing to the upper floor. And in that moment, my eyes landed on it, and I saw him. A man. He's not walking, not stumbling, but he was coming through the air with force. Thrown. his body hitting the landing hard, smashing through the banister and falling straight down onto the ground floor beside this landing. The vision was so sudden and so clear that it stopped me mid-step. As we walked toward the stairs to pass through the doorway on the right, I looked up again. There were strange marks on the wall of this landing, scuffs, scrapes, and something just didn't sit right. A physical echo of what I've just seen, and a shiver ran straight through me. I just saw a man get thrown down the stairs, I said, still watching the landing. He crashed through the banister and hit the floor below, just right in this doorway. The others turned and looked at me with curiosity and intrigue written all over their faces. Oh my God, really? That's creepy. We didn't linger. We kept moving, slipping through the doorway and out into the beer garden to find a table. The air outside felt lighter and easier. We ordered some drinks and settled in and let ourselves relax into a moment of bonding, laughing, and just easing into the night. But the vision stayed with me, a silent imprint, a story that the building wasn't done telling. The woman in the doorway. We ended up spending almost an hour in the beer garden before our dinner reservation. So we were sipping on our drinks, talking about our day-to-day lives, laughing at the strange little similarities that we all shared outside of the paranormal. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other for far longer than we actually had. All of us had met virtually through Sam's and my podcast. We'd all been guests on each other's shows, swapped stories, and messaged back and forth. And now we were here, finally together in person. Not just faces on Zoom or names popping up on socials. This was our chance to properly bond, to build the kind of trust that only forms when you're sitting together, sharing space, breath, and energy. What none of us realised was just how crucial that bonding would become, how much we would rely on each other later that night inside the asylum, how deeply that trust would anchor us when things got heavy. Eventually, our reservation time rolled around and we headed inside. We're still giggling, still riding that warm, easy feeling as we settled into our seats and opened up the menus. About 10 minutes later, we'd all pretty much chosen our meals, waiting for the waiter to come over and take our orders. Sam and I were on one side of the table, facing the windows that looked out onto the street. Opposite us were Monique, Anthony and Mel, their backs to the window. Anthony sat on the end to my left. Mon was directly opposite me and Mel was beside her, directly across from Sam. To my left, on a diagonal line behind me, was a doorway. I wasn't sure where it led, but maybe to the kitchen. But I kept feeling someone standing there, not physically, but energetically. They were present, observing. Every few minutes I'd be glancing over, studying the doorway, trying to make sense of who I was picking up. And Mon noticed. "Who are you seeing in that doorway, Heather?" she asked. I snapped my head back toward her, surprised. "You know I'm seeing someone?" "Yes," she said, eyes wide. "Because I think I'm seeing the same thing you are." A wave of relief washed over me, that quiet validation when someone else is tuned into the same frequency. "You are? Who or what did you see?" I asked. "No, you go first," Mon giggled. "Okay," I took a breath. "I'm seeing a woman, clothing from the mid to late 1850s, early 1900s. She's kind of greyish, like a silhouette more than a full figure. She doesn't feel angry or nasty. It's more like she's just checking in. She's making sure everything is running properly in the establishment. I have some thoughts on who she might be, but I could be wrong. Your turn." Mon stared at me, eyes wide, smiling in total shock. "Oh my God," she said. "I've been seeing a woman too. Everything you just described, that's exactly what I've been seeing and feeling." We both burst into laughter, that stunned, delighted kind of laughter when two people realise they've been picking up the same thing without even saying a word. "What's interesting," I said, "is that in my channeled messages, I did remember having a woman come through who matches this description, and I got the name Lucy or Lucia. She gave off Madam vibes. And earlier in the beer garden when I was admiring the building, I kept getting the word bordello. And it's strange because that's an American term. We don't use that here. But I think it was meant to give context for who I met in the channeling. Potentially, I don't know. Mon's jaw dropped. Wow, that's crazy. We both giggled and couldn't believe it. And what's even crazier is how the vibe links to some of the impressions that Sam and I got, which I'll explain in a minute. Just then, oh my God, just then, I need to have a drink. Something just hit me in the throat. Oh my God. Holy hell, that was weird. It felt like, not like a full-on throat punch, but it was just like a moment where I feel like something just, oh, okay. I'm taking that as a sign, but I'm sorry, we're still going. We're nearly finished. Oh my goodness. Just then, the waiter arrived to take our orders. We all rattled off our choices and handed back the menus, slipping easily back into conversation as we mentally prepared for the long night ahead. But the woman in the doorway lingered, watching, curious and present. And the night was only just beginning. The mini psychic sweep. Shortly after we ordered our meals, Sam mentioned that she felt drawn to the upstairs area of the hotel, especially after what I'd told everyone about the vision of the man that got thrown down the stairs. There was curiosity in her voice, but that familiar psychic nudge that we both recognised. So while our dinner was actually being prepared, we slipped away from the table and headed up toward the staircase. We climbed to the landing, the same spot where I'd seen the man hit the floor in my vision. Up close, the walls were marked with old holes and scuffs, likely from picture frames and hooks long removed. But something caught Sam's eye. "What's that?" "It's a weird colour and mark," she said, pointing. I leaned in to look. That legit looks like blood. Like dried up blood. I just heard mic interference, sorry. "What? No way, it can't be," Sam said, surprised. "Well, look," I said, running my fingers gently over it. "It's the same brown colour blood goes when it oxidizes. And feel it. It's got a bump to it. It's definitely not part of the wall or a hole from a picture hook." "Oh my God. Oh my God," Sam gasped, with like a mix of shock and horror in her voice. We kept scanning the walls, following the strange marks and indentations. Sam paused again. "Are these bullet holes?" she asked. I stepped closer, studying the small circular impressions. "Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they were. I mean, going by the vision I had earlier and the vibes I've had in here so far, it honestly wouldn't surprise me if they kept these marks or potentially bullet holes for the history." We stood there for a moment, absorbing it all. The marks, the energy, the heaviness that seemed to cling to the landing. It felt like the building was showing us pieces of its past, one imprint at a time. We made our way up the staircase, the old timber creaking under our feet, and by the time we reached the top, the air felt different. Thinner somehow, like the building was holding its breath. To the left, the landing opened into a series of large rooms with their doors wide open, as though someone had stepped out only moments before. We kept moving, drawn to the far left, where a small sitting area appeared. A little table, a couple of chairs, and an exit leading out onto the balcony. And there, tucked away quietly against the wall, was a beautiful old piano. Its keys were frozen solid, refusing to play a single note, like even the instrument had gone silent in this place. From that opening, another space pulled our attention. A dim hallway stretching only a couple of metres before sharply turning left again. The light barely reached that corner, and something about it felt wrong. I stepped ahead of Sam, rounding the turn first. The moment I crossed that threshold, the feeling hit me like a wall. "Oh, nope," I said, stopping dead. "This has a very icky, yucky vibe, and I don't like this area." Sam didn't hesitate. "Yep, it's definitely off in here." The energy pressed in, sharp, agitated, male. "I'm getting kind of like an angry or an aggressive type of male up here," I said quietly. "I don't like his vibe." We didn't linger. Instinct told us not to. Back on the main landing, we paused, letting atmosphere settle around us. And that's when Sam tilted her head slightly, listening to something that I couldn't hear. I don't know, she said slowly. I just keep hearing, pay the piper, pay the piper. I don't know what it means, but I think it has something to do with money. I keep hearing the name like Peter too, like Peter pay the piper or something. A ripple went through me, that click of like recognition when two impressions line up. Yeah, I'm getting something about business deals after you said that, I told her, like mob vibes, underground business stuff. Sam nodded immediately. Yeah, it's giving me the same vibes too. We turned to the middle doorway, stepping into a large lounge area that kind of curved back around to the right, which was connecting it to the first door with the first room. As we walked through, something caught my eye, a big set of wooden concertina doors folded neatly against the wall. Oh my God, I said, pointing. Look at this. Concertina doors. So they could close off this big room and this small room, like for business. Sam's eyes widened, a knowing smirk tugging at her mouth. She'd landed on the same thought I had. In the smaller room, another fireplace sat opposite us. As I looked at it, a vision had snapped into place. A man of importance, someone in the hierarchy, standing with his hand resting on the mantel in a power stance. The room filled with the presence of several men, their postures intimidating and their energy heavy. But one man stood out. Worried, tense, like he knew he was in trouble. My attention pulled sharply to a small window beside the fireplace, and I walked toward it, the impression forming before I'd even reached the windowsill. I think a man was thrown out of this window, I said quietly. Like, you failed to pay or do a job, like no more chances. Sam's head snapped towards me. Peter? I nodded. I think so. Her eyes widened. Oh my God, it would make sense with why I kept hearing pay the piper. Like not a literal, but like metaphorical, like you've got to own it. Yeah, I said, like pay the piper, pay the money. You owed something and you couldn't pay, so now you pay with your life. We just stared at each other for a moment, stunned, but also weirdly relieved that the pieces were forming a story. Different impressions, but for the same thread. It felt like we'd stumbled into a memory that the building had been holding on to. The overwhelm hit us both at once, that psychic saturation point where the body says, that's enough for now. And honestly, we were fucking starving. We decided to retreat downstairs and check on our meals. And as we descended the stairs, they felt ridiculously steep. I remember turning and laughing to Sam, saying, God, no wonder the man went flying, even if he wasn't being thrown down the stairs. We giggled our way back to the table, and just as we arrived, our dinners were being placed down. Perfect timing. The little upstairs sweep had kept us occupied just for long enough. If this was the energy before the investigation even begun, we knew we'd need every bit of sustenance we could get before the night ahead. But we did leave the upper floor of Tanswell's with more questions than answers, carrying the weight of impressions that didn't feel imagined or coincidental. Whatever happened in those rooms, whatever story that building was replaying, it found us easily, with effort, with invitation. And as we stepped back towards the warmth and the noise of the dining room, it was clear that this place wasn't finished speaking. It had only just opened the door. So, this pre-investigation unfolded in layers, long before we ever stepped inside the asylum. It began in the channeling, in the quiet messages that surfaced without warning, and in the sense that something was already reaching towards us. It continued on the road to Beechworth, where the air shifted and the land felt watchful, as though it recognised us, and deepened at Tanswell's, where the atmosphere, the impressions, and the unexpected psychic sweep revealed that the night had already started writing its own story. Every moment, the intuitive hits, the shared sensations, the names, the phases, the visions, it all felt connected, as if each piece was gently guiding us toward what waited beyond the ward. Nothing about it felt random. Nothing felt coincidental. It was all a part of the same current pulling us forward. And as we left Tanswells and stepped into the cool air of the night, there was a quiet understanding between us. The pre-investigation wasn't a warm-up. It was the threshold. Because the real work, the part that would test us, unsettle us, and stay with us, was still ahead. In episode 2, we will be crossing into the asylum itself. And whatever had been reaching us that day, we were about to meet it face to face. So there you have it, the pre-investigation episode. I'm sorry that this has gone on for well over an hour, but with interruptions or things happening, I think it just gives, oh my God, my head started again. It just gives you guys a bit more of that experience of just some of the weird and random things that will happen. And sometimes it's not even, you might not even pick these things up during the event, but it's not until after, when you're putting something together and you start feeling these sensations, and then even getting in and recording it, you kind of then start to piece things together a bit more, because you're taking the time to really take in what you've prepared and you're more aware of what's going on. So yeah, I'm curious also to see if there's any EVPs in this episode, actually, because I did have a couple of moments of mic interference. So again, it was just kind of like little puffs on the mic that I don't know if it was being touched, but I also just thought I saw something pop up behind the back of my laptop then. But it could also be that my head's a bit out of sorts and my eyes are playing up a little bit. But yeah, that was nuts. So I'm really curious to see what happens with this, because, stranger things have happened. I've had EVPs pull up in episodes that I thought were like completely irrelevant to anything. And then I've had experiences that I did not anticipate having. So yeah, it's similar to the Beyond the Bars with the Geelong Jail, where I had things, but they're sort of presenting differently. Yeah, weird and creepy. But I want to say a massive thank you to everybody that's been listening and you've been hanging out for this episode. I've been hanging out to get it together. It's just, unfortunately, I feel like I've been blocked from doing it a few times. So we finally got here. Let's see how we go. Please make sure that you go and check out Aussie Afterlife podcast. That's available on all podcast platforms as well, including YouTube. Also, stay tuned for the actual episodes of the investigation with Date Night with the Ghost Gang. You can find them again on all the social media platforms, but their channel is on YouTube. So go and check it out. They will have a premiere, I think, so you can click to be notified of when the episodes drop for Beechworth. So make sure you go and check them out and follow. And also, again, if you've really enjoyed Beyond the Veil Australia podcast, yeah, thank you again so much. Please make sure to like and subscribe, or leave us a comment, or even just head over to our social media, check out some of the photos, and also hit me up if anything's popped up for you in this episode that you have more knowledge on. I'm really curious to hear and see a bit more of some of the things I've experienced, and if it actually makes sense to anybody else out there. Yeah, once again, stay curious, stay grounded, and always expect the unexpected. That's all for me from now. I look forward to whatever happens next in the investigation episode. So thanks again, guys. Bye.